Children bear the brunt of any crisis in the world, whether it be famine, a pandemic or a war. The young ones are never spared. Just last week, the Eastern Cape confirmed that a number of infants had died of malnutrition. To look into the child care catastrophe in the country, Labour analyst Terry Bell joins me now live to discuss this. Mr. Bell, thank you for joining us here on All Angles. We do appreciate your time. From reading what you wrote in your article, it seems what you're saying is that as South Africa, we've basically abandoned our children from not investing even in their early childhood development.
This is completely true. There have been many people who have operated individually, some very brave and wonderful people who've tried to build up something in the ECD, and they've been completely ignored by government. We actually have a situation where we've probably got about, in rough ballpark figures, 2.5 million children in unregistered childcare centres for the simple reason that the government has never actually prioritised what they promised to many years ago. In fact, the basic ANC policy when they came into power was to stress early childhood development and education and adult basic education and training, the two areas that we desperately needed in order to rectify the horrible, terrible damage done by those years of apartheid and colonialism.
Now, early childhood development used to be, now we can say used to be the responsibility of the Social Development Department. Government has now decided it'll move to basic education. That happened officially on Friday. Do you think this is a good move?
Well, yes, I think it's an essential move. However, I don't think it's going to result in any real change. We still have this, but hopefully there will not be the degree of what looks like basic incompetence. When President Ramaphosa in October 2020 announced that there would be a 1.3 billion rand emergency fund paid to ECD teachers because they suddenly locked everyone out, closed all the schools down, and there were people without any pay. They handed back 720 million rand of that because it was unspent. They didn't even know what was going on. We have a level of incompetence that's got to be obviously dealt with, and hopefully it will be better dealt with under the Education Department. It still, however, does not deal with the basic problem that the overwhelming majority of ECD centres in this country are still unregistered and actually technically still illegal according to the government. We have definitely not prioritised the most important sector of the future of this country, and that is early childhood education. Between the ages of birth and 5 or 6 is the most vital period. This is where we already have more than 20, and this is a proper study, more than 27% of our young children under the age of 5 are physically stunted, which means that intellectually, academically, their potential is terribly damaged. They will never reach the potential that they could have, and we need to do something about it urgently.
But there's also, the fact that there is no proper budget in terms of supporting people who do offer registered early childhood development services. Rural areas, for instance, some service providers are expected to go ahead with this with absolutely no resources.
Well, this is true. And I mean, the people who were supposed to apply for this emergency grant, and we're talking not of people who are wealthy or even halfway employed at a reasonable level. These are people who are living from hand to mouth. And you'd say to them, right, to apply for this grant, you have to apply digitally on the internet. You're telling this to a woman with maybe looking after 20 or 30 children in a rural area that has no electricity, probably not even any running water, and using a pit toilet, and you're telling it's ridiculous. We have not come to terms with the reality. There are, of course, very good and usually quite expensive schools in the leafier suburbs. And there are some excellent farm schools, such as those started in the Free State with Jane Evans, or the ones in the Hantam. There are wonderful examples, but these are small, these are little things, and they're done by ordinary people, citizens on the ground who've worked, just as they worked in the past. We've had Monica Lolwani and people like those in the 1940s who actually slaved and really thought we could build a decent preschool system. And when the ANC came into power and Nelson Mandela prioritized young children, everyone thought, this is it. It's not happened. We've gone backwards. And it's a shocking travesty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bell, for your time here on All Angles. Well, that was Labour analyst Terry Bell. Now,